Hello everyone, this is Sachin Sawant. I'm an OIC Level 3 Immigration Advisor, Advocacy and Appeals. Today, this live is about skilled worker visas and any related immigration questions. It's especially for individuals, any corporates, or any HR personnel with respect to skilled worker visas. Uh, it's about 3 minutes left for or 2 minutes more. I will wait, let anyone join by the time, and then I can go ahead. I already have some questions that I would address myself, and that I would remain on the call for a while. If there are any other in between the skilled worker questions, if there are any other immigration questions, if there are no questions on skilled worker, then I may address those questions as well. So feel free to ask any other questions. This will only be a brief advice to start with. I will remain live and let people move in, and exactly around 12 I will start with my questions first and then take others questions as well. I see individuals joining now slowly. Hello Balu. So we'll wait about 2 minutes or so for people to join, and then I will at least start with my questions. You can post your questions in the meanwhile. I will continue working on my screen as well. So if there are no questions, yeah, I may read something and I may talk about it. So yeah, just bear with that. This is the first live we are doing through Facebook. So there may be some glitches. I am myself learning this, how to host myself live. So please bear with it. All your questions, please type them. Please type, all the questions should be addressed in a type format. So okay, so it is sharp 12 now. So this is a 30-minute live. If you have any questions, do post them. In the meanwhile, I will start with some of my questions that I have to address, which are asked during consultations. So one of the questions that I have been asked by applicants and even by HR personnel that we do advise is if someone has already resigned from their previous work and they are not working for their previous employer, they were on a skilled worker visa, they may have a valid BRB which is valid for a further longer period of time, say maybe 1 year, 2 year, or any long period of time. However, there is a 60-day rule which there is a confusion on most of the time on individuals and also HR personnel, that whether can they hire someone who's already left their job for more than 2 months ago, and can they issue them a new certificate of sponsorship. So the Home Office rule is quite simple and it's very straight. Anytime, let's say someone leaves their job and their last date of employment is say 30th of April 2023. From the last date of employment, within 10 days, the previous employer, should report to Home Office that that person has ended working and their last date of work was 30th of April in my example, and that they have stopped sponsoring them. So there is a sponsor management system which we do manage for our corporate clients as well. So like on behalf of the corporates, when they tell us this person's last day is 30th of April, we would go in there, we would put their certificate of sponsorship number which was issued to them when they filed for their visa, and then we would declare it as it is no longer to be valid. So we clearly said that we are no longer sponsoring them and give whatever the reason is, they have ended the employment, their last date of work, that is when does the sponsorship end, That's what we will write as, let's say we are sitting on 5th of May, we are doing this within 10 days of 30th April. We put the date as 30th April, last date of work. And from that point forward, once the reporting is done on 5th of May, ideally, the Home Office should send a curtailment email, curtailment letter. I've never seen emails, but usually it should be an email. It should be a letter posted to the migrant employee whose skilled worker is going to be terminated. So that is called as curtailment letter. So if that curtailment letter is not sent by Home Office, there are various reasons for that. Internally, Home Office may not have enough staff to deal with it, or whatever are the reasons. But if you as a migrant, or the migrant does not receive the curtailment letter, even if it is 3 months, 6 months, or even a year after the job has ended, your leave is not curtailed. So technically, you may not be working with your previous sponsor. You may not be even allowed to work for a new sponsor till the time you get something else, some other type of leave. But what is important is you have the right. Let's say the job ended on 30th of April and you decide to take up a job. You still have a valid BRP card for till 30th April next year. So 30th April 2024. You have the BRP card valid. Your job has ended this year and you don't find any employment, but you have not received the curtailment letter from Home Office. So let's say you get on 1st of July, you get an offer from the new employer and you want to switch employment to that particular employer. Then you can apply for a new skilled worker visa through that new employer. So at that point, I have been asked questions by the new employers, HR, saying, can we take on this person? That person has already ended their work for more than 60 days. So as of July, they are already more than 60 days not working for their previous employer. So if their curtailment letter has not been issued, then they can switch. So it does not stop anyone, even the new employer, to issue a cause or even the applicant to apply for the skilled worker visa. So yes, that is possible. So that is one question I usually get asked in consultations regarding the skilled worker changing employers. The second thing, yeah, I will wait for some more questions to flow through. I'll keep the live open for now, and then I will get on to the next question. I'll try to find any more questions that I may have that I can address that I have been asked in the past regarding the skilled worker applications. Yes, another point about making applications via different services. So inside the UK, usually there would be 3 types of services that would be available. One would be the normal standard, which is, as of today, I think for 8 to 12 weeks is the decision making time and the standard processing. There is another processing, the second level of faster processing is priority service. This is only in work related areas. It doesn't apply. It's not super priority, it's priority. So the charge for that is about £500 additional on top of the standard fees. And the decision is made within 5 working days. We have always got decisions within 5 working days. So that is okay. The third option would be a super priority service that is within 24 hours from the date of your biometric appointment, only considering their working days. So Saturday, Sundays are not counted. And that costs about 800 on top of the standard fees for a skilled worker visa. So those are the 3 types of services that are available inside UK. Outside UK also there is a priority service. So there is a standard service. Usually priority is used less. I've seen that because the standard itself is about 15 working days. So 3 weeks time they do decide outside UK applications for a skilled worker visa. And There is a priority service. It's about £220 or odd. Don't quote me on that, but that is what the approximate amount is converted into the local currency in that country. And that is payable when you are submitting the application, and in some locations you can also pay it to the third party provider, which is either VFS if you are attending VFS application center, or TLS if you are attending TLS application center. And the processing time for priority outside UK is 5 working days, yeah, to the best of my knowledge. So those are different services available through Home Office. What else can I address till now? Be just a minute. Another question that we usually get asked, yeah, especially by HR personnel, is can we delay the start date of an employee? So by default, you have to confirm the start date of an employee when you apply for the defined certificate of sponsorship if someone is coming to the UK from outside UK. But if there are reasons, you can delay it. So once the employee has started, usually within 10 calendar days, you should report it through the SMS any new start date. So for example, if the start date is 1st of June 2023, the start date is not met, and let's say the employee starts on 15th of June 2023. If you're already aware of the change in start date before a decision is made on the application, then the first point is, if the certificate is already issued, you may not be able to change that start date. You may have to just put a comment in on the certificate of sponsorship and let the caseworker know the change in the start date. However, if the visa is already approved and then the start date changes at any point, then the way would be to report through the SMS, the sponsor management system, that any change in start date. The new start date is say 10th of June 2023. I will try to address any other question that we usually come across. Just a minute. About knowledge of English, yeah, usually it's a B1 level of English that is required. There are usually two ways one can meet the English language requirement for a skilled worker visa. First option would be if they already have a degree that qualifies two things. One, it was delivered in English, that is, it was taught in English in whichever country it was obtained. And secondly, that degree is at least equal to UK bachelor's or higher. So this is all in simple words I am saying. It's written technically in the immigration rules. So yes, two things to be met for that degree. For example, someone who has been issued a degree in India, so they would need to apply to ACTIS, ECCTIS, ACTIS body. If you Google ACTIS, ECCTIS, then you should be able to search their website and you can apply through ACTIS. And what you are asking for ACTIS to confirm is two things, exactly the same two things that Indian degree requires. One is it was at least equal to UK bachelor's. So the ACTIS letter clearly confirms saying this degree is equivalent or higher than UK master's, UK bachelor's, whatever that is. And secondly, it would also confirm that it has been delivered in English. So these are and it confirms the level of English. Usually it says C1, whatever that is, C1, C2, B1. So usually I've seen is C1. That's what they've seen. I've seen on many degrees that have been taught in English. They rate the English language. The lowest requirement is B1 or higher. So remember that C1 is higher than B1. The challenges or the concerns around this that I see is the cost of applying for the ACTIS evaluation. It's about between 120 and 150 pounds or so. And I think the cost of giving an English test, which is the other option, is also around that mark only, somewhere around that, around 150 or so. So even if you're applying from some other country, if you are having hard time obtaining the ACTIS evaluation, usually I've seen the concern that ACTIS would always ask. I've seen that in some countries, usually India, on the Asian side, I've seen um, whenever you apply to ACTIS for the English equivalency, they would always come back asking for a letter or something, some confirmation from the university in India or in that country, confirming that that degree was delivered in English. And that is sometimes hard to obtain. Not all the degrees, all the unis may be able to help with that. So if you're having challenges with that, the other option would be, or if you don't have a degree at all, which is equivalent or and delivered in English, then yes, you should pass the English language test. If you go to a website, you will see a skilled worker or tier 2 general. Previously it was called tier 2 general list of documents. Through that you will have the link over there. Usually IELTS is the one. There are different other companies also doing the English test. The main requirement for the English test is it has to be approved by UKVI. So always there will be a name while you're booking the test, UKVI in one way or the other. UKVI Home Office, it says UKVI IELTS test, UKVI English test, something like that, B1, UKVI A1 test. So that is how you book the test, you pass it. It's being done in all four components. So it's not just speaking and listening, which applies to the family route applications, spouse visas, etc. Under the skilled worker, they test you on 4 components: speaking, listening, along with reading and writing as well. So there are 4 components in the test. There's the other way you find out whether the test is the correct one, when you have all the 4 components, not just 2. So in that test you need to get at least B1 or higher level. And sometimes I've seen individuals giving a lower level of test. So the way the hierarchy works, as I understand, is A is the lowest, B is higher than that, and then C. So A1, A2, A3, that's how the lower level ones are. Then you have B, and then B1, B2, B3, they go in that order. B1 is the lowest, B2 higher than that, B3 higher than that, something, and then the C comes into play. So if you pass any test at A levels, A1, A2, A3, it won't help. The minimum is B1 required, and that too in all 4 components. Second point that I would address is, if you have already given the test, you have a degree, let's say you have a degree from the US, it's already an English speaking nation. There is a list of English speaking countries on the UK government website. If you Google for anyone who is exemption from English language requirement, you should get that list. US, Australia, New Zealand, etc. are on those lists. So if you have your degree from that particular country, then, as I said, there are 2 confirmations that you need from ACTIS. The first one is either UK bachelor's or higher, it is equivalent to, or in English. The second part is not required to be confirmed because the country has the first language as English. The only confirmation required for a US degree, for a degree that someone has studied in the US and received, would be that that the degree is at least equivalent to UK bachelor's or higher, UK masters, UK PhD or something. And one important point, in Canada, some states have English, some states don't have English as the first language. That's what I have heard from clients, and so be mindful of that. Canada may be a bit tricky, so just check the rules properly, or just book a consultation with us, and we can also confirm whether you do need the confirmation of English if you have a degree from Canada. So that's the point on English language. Another thing that I would address is, yes, we are being asked questions sometimes on the immigration health surcharge. So whenever you submit a skilled worker visa application, you would always have to pay the immigration health surcharge. So that's how the application flows on the website. When you're submitting the application, the submission is done online. When you make the payment of the application, that is what called as the date of application. So yes, It's not a physical application, it has been filed digitally. We do represent clients from all over the world, so we prepare it. However, the individual, when you are submitting, has to be outside the UK. That's very important. But we prepare the whole application. Inside the UK, it's a digital application. All the documents can be uploaded from inside the UK. Only on the date of application, let's say someone is applying from China, that person has to be present in China on the date when we submit the application, which means when we make the payment of the application. The payments usually go in the order of the first one is immigration health surcharge. Sometimes we are asked, it is quite a considerable fees for an adult applicant. It's 624 per year as of today. So if you are applying for a 3-year visa, it does multiply into 624 into 3.5. So that is the way the rules applies. Anytime you have a start date, let's say 1st of January 2023, and your end date of work is 31st of December 24, 25, 26, 26. So 1/1/23 to 31/12/26. The system will add on 14 days. So that is written in the immigration rules. We cannot do anything about it. Even you cannot do anything about it. If you put a whole 3 years, it will add the 14 days of extra immigration health surcharge, because your visa will be granted 3 years plus 14 days. That's what the immigration rules say. So if you want to exactly pay a 3 years of IHS, then do apply for slightly lesser period. So rather than applying for from 1st 1/1/23 to 31/12/26, you would apply, say if you are going back 14 days, 15/12/26, so that you are about 14-15 days within the 3 years mark. And then even if the 14 days are added, the maximum term is 3 years, and that's how you will be charged for 3 years. By default, if you put a start date and end date of work for 3 years, it will count and it will add on 3.5 years of IHS. 624 per year multiplied by 3.5. That will be the amount in GBP. It will be converted into the local currency from when you are applying. So if you are applying from the US, you have to pay in dollars. You're applying from India in rupees. Whichever country you are applying from, the GBP is converted and you have to pay in that currency. And there is no option. You don't have the option of not paying the IHS and telling the government that no, I don't want to pay IHS, I'll take private healthcare. That is not an option. Your application cannot go further. That's why the payment of IHS is done first, and only then you go to the payment page. You can't even go forward of the application fees. So you only submit the application after the IHS is paid. And when you pay the visa application fees, which is after the IHS, there are two payments that you make. First the IHS, then you go forward, and then you make the visa fees payment. So once the second fees is paid, the visa application fees, that is the date of application. That's called as application submission. Another point, what else? Yes, about what you can and cannot do in the UK. You can work in that particular job as per your contracted hours, and you can study in the UK provided you do continue working for your job for the contracted hours. You can also bring in your partner, so it can be a spouse, you're already married, unmarried partner, you have a durable relationship for at least 2 years or higher, and you can prove it by cohabitation evidence. And if you have children under 18 years of age, they can also apply and you can bring them in. Another question that we get asked is about the dependents visa. So if the main applicant has already come into the UK, let's say on 1st of January 2023, their visa was granted, they came in subsequently, and then after 6 months they want to apply for their family, say wife and child, or spouse, husband and child. So in that case, their visa will also, remember that if the main applicant's visa is expiring on 31st December 2026, all dependents can have a maximum visa up to that date only. They cannot be given a visa longer than the main applicant. Here's another question that we are being asked. So touching on that point, and any specific questions on partner dependents, etc., you can book an in-person consultation with us for your own specific case, and we can customize our advice accordingly. And holidays abroad, yes, this is another question that we do get asked. You are allowed to travel outside the UK, the main applicant or the dependents as well. However, if you want to qualify for indefinite leave to remain after completing 5 years on the skilled worker visa, the maximum absence allowed is up to 180 days in any 12-month period. So usually, let's say you get a 3-year visa now, or you straight away get a 5-year visa. If you get a 3-year visa, then at the end of the 3 years, you would extend it for further 2 or higher. You can get the skilled worker visa, and then at the end of 5 years, you would look back from the date of application, 5 years. So you have to make a rolling period of 12 months from that date of application. In those 12 months, every 12 months, it's a 12-month rolling cycle, cumulative. You should not have been outside the UK for more than 180 days. 180 days is approximately 6 months, but not exactly 6 months. Not more than 180 days in any 12-month cycle. So that is very, very important. Yeah, there are some exceptions. Yeah. But for that, maybe usually you will have to book a consultation, and we can take on your own specific case and advise accordingly. About, yes, you can do voluntary work. About additional work, we always get asked these questions. So let me cover the points on that. So you should be mainly working for your main sponsor. Let's say you are contracted for 36 hours per week. You should be working for 36 hours with your main sponsor. You can work up to 20 hours per week on top of those 36 hours, either in the same occupation code, so for example, and at the same level as your main job. Let's say you are a project manager in IT and you have your job code 1234. So you should be working in the same job code 1234, and you are a project manager, so at the same level as well. So not a lower or a higher level, but at the same job level. So if you're a manager, then yeah, you need to be a manager in the other job. And the same occupation code. So if the project manager occupation code is 1234, you can only work in the code 1234. Or the other option is in a shortage occupation. So the other two options, either in the same job, same level, plus job code, those 2 points, plus that is one option. Secondly, you can work in any shortage occupation. To look for the shortage occupation list, you can just go on Google, search for UK shortage occupation list, and it should come up. So what else? And the 20 hours cap has been removed. So temporarily there is a new exemption that has been come up for anyone who is in a health and care occupation, who has a health and care visa. They are allowed to work for more than 20 hours per week. We have another video. You can join our YouTube channel and you can find on there. Yes, they are allowed to work more than 20 hours for an additional employer, but in another health and care occupation only. So that is the restriction. This has started around March, I think. It will go around till August, September for 6 months, and then Home Office would review it. So that is the only exception as of now that I'm aware of. Then next point on the skilled workers. Yes, it does lead to settlement. So we do get asked questions. Intracompany transfer, which was previously called ICT, intracompany transfer tier 2 ICT. That one has been renamed as GBM, Global Business Mobility Senior Specialist Worker, Senior or Specialist Worker. So that category does not qualify for settlement. So remember, after completing 5 years on the GBM SSW, so Global Business Mobility Senior or Specialist Worker category, you would not qualify for indefinite leave to remain. So this is another question I get asked in consultations when someone is on that GBM SSW or ICT and they want to settle in the UK. So the only option we have done for many clients, even corporates, they have approached us stating that this particular individual is working with some other employer on an ICT. I will call it as ICT, it's easier to say, uh, or the long name is GBMSSW, Global Business Mobility Senior Specialist Worker. So someone who wants to switch from ICT and the new employer wants to hire them. They cannot hire them on ICT obviously, because it's a different company, a new employer, completely no connection. But yes, the new employer can hire them on a skilled worker visa. So this is a solution for anyone who is on ICT visa, either the old one or the new one, GBMSSW. You can, inside the UK, you can switch to a UK employer. Also, the advantage of switching inside the UK would be that employer would not require a defined certificate of sponsorship. On what is a defined is a difficult certificate compared to undefined. So that's what summarily I would say. There is another video on YouTube comparing defined and undefined certificates. You can search for it, defined certificates word, on our YouTube channel, or on Facebook also it may have been posted. So an employer, if they want to hire someone who is already on an ICT visa or GBMSSW inside UK, then they only need to issue them an undefined certificate of sponsorship. I have myself done it. We have done it. Our company has done it for several employers, where they have hired someone who was already on ICT and then they wanted to switch to skilled worker. The main motivation behind that would be if they want to settle in the UK. So they want to settle in the UK. ICT will not allow them even if they complete 5 years, or they would have to keep on continuing switching routes, students and all, which we can plan and suggest during a paid consultation. But if that is not they want to do, they just don't want to continue for 10 years and try to qualify for the 10-year long residence, then it would be better for them to look for another job for another employer who has a sponsor license and is willing to sponsor them for a skilled worker visa. So that is on ICT switching into skilled worker. Any other point? Let me scroll. Yes, on the skilled worker, I get asked questions, can I change employers? So you already have a 3-year visa or a 5-year visa or any term of visa with your current employer, with employer X. You come to the UK, work with them for a year or two, you find another employer for whatever reason, your progression, etc., and you want to switch employers. So the process would be, yes, you can switch employers. You can have 10 different employers during your whole 5 years till you qualify for ILR. But important is you should continue to be in the skilled worker category only, number one. And you can switch any number of employers inside UK. So, and the important thing is you switch the employer as soon as possible once you end the job, or even before you terminate. So there is a way we plan it. If you are planning to change jobs, it is advisable you book a consultation. If you want to time your notice periods and starting the job, applying for a visa, etc., etc., it needs to be timed properly so that there are no issues, no gaps in between. And yeah, you can switch as many number of employers in the UK as you want. And yeah, that's it. You are allowed to switch employers. You are allowed to switch from ICT to skilled worker. So skilled worker seems to be one of the mostly used categories by corporates as of now, as we see. If you need any particular advice on your particular situation, do book a consultation with us. You can find it on our website. The link will be also in this live below. Yes, if you do like this live, you can join it. We may have it regularly, may not be for the next 2 weeks as there are school holidays now. And yes, if you want to see anything specific, you can write your questions on Facebook. You can watch some videos on YouTube as well. You will have the link for the YouTube channel as well. You can follow us. Do subscribe to our channel. It helps to throw all these videos. Do follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It throws all these videos which have some intrinsic knowledge that will help someone somewhere, and it will stop people from making mistakes. Yes, do subscribe to our channel. Follow us on various social platforms. We will try to have as many lives as we can on a regular basis. And thank you very much.